My sister tries to help my unfaithful wife in forcing me to pay child support for the baby that's not mine. I 33 meters. Recently discovered that my 6-month-old baby isn't actually mine. This whole situation has been a nightmare, and now my sister is getting involved too. I'll try to explain everything that happened in detail. I met my wife Sadie 31F about 5 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. We hit it off right away and started dating soon after. Things moved pretty quickly between us. Within a year we had moved in together and were talking about marriage. Sadie was funny, smart, and we had great chemistry. I really thought I had found the one. Our early relationship was filled with fun dates, deep conversations, and a growing sense of partnership. We shared similar values and goals, which made it easy to see a future together. We both wanted children eventually and talked about how we'd raise them. Looking back, it all seems so foolish now. We got married 3 years ago in a small ceremony with close family and friends. The first couple years of marriage were good overall. We both had busy careers, but made time for each other. We traveled to new places, tried out all the trendy restaurants in our city, and spent time with our friends. It was the normal happy couple stuff you'd expect. About a year and a half ago, we decided we were ready to start a family. We had settled into our careers, bought a house, and felt financially stable enough for kids' stay. Got pregnant pretty quickly, which we were thrilled about. I was over the moon excited to become a dad. I went all in on the expectant father role. I attended every doctor's appointment, read all the parenting books, and helped decorate the nursery. I even took a few weeks off work when Steve had terrible morning sickness. Early on, I wanted to be there for every moment of the pregnancy. Our son was born 6 months ago, and at the time I thought it was the happiest day of my life. Holding him for the first time, I felt overwhelmed with love. I couldn't wait to watch him grow up and be the best dad I could be. If only I had known the truth then. Looking back now, there were some red flags I ignored throughout our relationship and marriage. STI started acting distant and secretive with her phone. About a year into our marriage, she'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting or quickly hide her screen. When I walked into the room, she also started going out with work friends more often, sometimes not coming home until very late. There were a few times she didn't come home at all, claiming she crashed at a friend's place after too many drinks, but I trusted her and didn't want to be the jealous, controlling husband. I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. When our son was born, I noticed he didn't really look like me. His hair and eye color were different from mine, and his facial features didn't resemble me at all. But I knew babies often don't look like their parents right away, so I tried not to worry about it. I told myself he'd grow into my features eventually. As the months went on, though, I started having serious doubts. The timing of the pregnancy, secretive behavior, our son not resembling me at all, it was adding up to something I didn't want to face. I found myself staring at my son, trying to find any hint of myself in his face, but there was nothing. I know it was wrong, but I ended up hacking into Steve's phone while she was sleeping. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, and I needed to know the truth. What I found confirmed my worst fears, and then some. There were messages going back over 2 years between STI and her ex-boyfriend Tom. Explicit photos, plans to meet up at hotels, declarations of love. They had been having an on and off affair for most of our marriage. There were even messages from around the time our son was conceived where they discussed the possibility of him being the father. I felt physically ill reading through their conversations. The level of deception was staggering. They had been laughing at me behind my back, mocking how clueless I was. There were messages about how Steve would make excuses to me so she could go meet Tom. It was clear this wasn't just a one-time mistake, it was a long-term intentional betrayal. I confronted STI with what I had found the next morning. At first, she tried to deny it, claiming I was misunderstanding things or that her phone had been hacked, but when I showed her specific messages, she broke down and admitted everything. She confessed to the affair with Tom, saying it had started as closure for their old relationship but turned into something more. She wasn't sure who the father was when she got pregnant, but a DNA test after birth confirmed it was Tom. Apparently, Tom freaked out when he found out about the baby and wanted nothing to do with it. He blocked his number and moved out of state. So sad, decided to pass our son off as mine. She claimed she was going to tell me eventually, but I don't believe her. She only confessed when confronted with irrefutable evidence. I was devastated. My whole marriage and fatherhood had been a lie. The past 5 years of my life felt like a complete sham. I told Steve I wanted a divorce immediately. I also said I didn't Want 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 or financial responsibility for a child that wasn't mine. Steve begged me to reconsider, saying she still loved me and that I was the only father our son had ever known. She swore the affair was over and that she wanted to make things work, but I couldn't get past the betrayal. How could I ever trust her again after years of lies? This is where my sister Bianca 35F comes into the story. Bianca and 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 had become close friends over the years. When 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 told her what happened, Bianca took her side. She said I was being cruel and selfish for abandoning my son, even if he wasn't biologically mine. She thinks I should stay and raise him as my own. Some background on my relationship with Bianca: we've never been close. Our parents always favored her. Growing up, she was the golden child who could do no wrong, while I was constantly criticized. This led to a lot of bitterness between us. We're civil now as adults, but not close. Growing up, Bianca always got the best of everything: new clothes, the bigger bedroom, more attention from our parents. When she got in trouble, our parents would make excuses for her, but if I stepped out of line even slightly, I was punished harshly. This dynamic created a wedge between us that never really healed. I moved out of the house and started divorce proceedings. Sadie is fighting me on everything. She wants me to pay child support and have shared custody. I refuse to do either. This isn't my child, and I don't want to be financially responsible for him for the next 18 years. Bianca is furious with me over this. She's been comforting Sadie and letting her cry on her shoulder. Sadie has apparently been laying it on thick, talking about how she'll be poor as a single mom and how the baby will grow up without a father. I think she's manipulating Bianca, but Bianca is eating it up. Things came to a head when Bianca told me she was going to testify on Sadie's behalf in the divorce proceedings. She wants to paint me as an involved father who's now abandoning his child. Her goal is to get me to pay child support, at least, even if I don't want custody. I was shocked that my own sister would side with my cheating ex-wife over me, but I guess I shouldn't have been surprised given our history. Still, it hurt to have my family turn against me like that. It felt like I was that scapegoat child all over again, with everyone taking Bianca's side. The divorce has been nasty. Sadie and Bianca have tried to drag my name through the mud. They've told her friends and family that I'm heartless for abandoning an innocent child. Some people have taken their side, saying DNA doesn't matter and I should step up as a father. They've painted me as a deadbeat dad who's walking out on his responsibilities. They easily leave out the part about Suz's affair and the fact that the child isn't mine. It's been annoying to have my character attacked like this when I'm the victim of Suz's cheating, but I've stood my ground. I don't believe I have any moral or legal obligation to support a child that resulted from my wife's affair. The courts ended up agreeing with me since there's proof the child isn't mine biologically, and I never acted as the father. He's only 6 months old. I'm not required to pay child support. The judge ruled that since I never knowingly took on a parental role, I'm not considered the legal father. Sadie lies don't obligate me to 18 years of child support for a kid that isn't mine. It was a huge relief to have the law on my side. Sadie is devastated by the ruling. She truly thought she'd be able to force me to pay child support. I think she was counting on that money and now has to face the reality of being a single mother. Bianca is still supporting her and has offered to help out financially. They're both furious with me and saying I'll regret this decision, but I feel like I did the right thing. Why should I have to pay for my wife's infidelity? Why should I be financially responsible for another man's child? I was lied to and manipulated. I'm the victim here, not Sadie. I do feel bad for the baby. He's innocent in all this and didn't ask to be born into such a messed up situation, but I think it would be worse in the long run to try to raise a child I resent. Better to make a clean break now before he's old enough to remember me. Sadie can go after Tom for child support if she wants. Some of my friends think I did the right thing. They say 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 made her bed and now has to lie in it. Others say I'm the for not stepping up as a father. Regardless of DNA, they think I should put the child's needs first and be the bigger person. Bianca is still not speaking to me and says she wants nothing to do with me going forward. She thinks I'm selfish and immature for not manning up and aim this child, but I think she's naive and doesn't understand how painful this betrayal has been. The whole situation has torn my life apart. I've lost my wife, my home, the child I thought was mine, and now my sister. Some days I feel relieved to be free of Suz's lies. Other days I miss the life I thought I had. To go back and forth between anger and sadness. I'm trying to rebuild my life now. I've started therapy to deal with the trauma of this betrayal. I'm focusing on my career and spending time with the friends who have stood by me, but it's hard not to feel bitter about everything I've lost. So Reddit, should I have stayed and raised a child that wasn't mine, or was I right to leave and refuse financial support? This whole situation has been a nightmare, and I'm second-guessing everything. I could use some outside perspectives on whether I made the right choice. Update: it's been 6 months since my divorce was finalized. A lot has happened in that time, and I wanted to give an update on the situation. First, some background on what's been going on with me after the divorce. I focused on healing and rebuilding my life. I continued with therapy, which has been really helpful in processing everything. I threw myself into work and picked up some new hobbies to keep busy. Slowly but surely, I started to feel like myself again. I haven't had any contact with Steve since the divorce was finalized. As far as I know, she's still struggling as a single mom. I heard through friends that she tried to track down her ex Tom for child support but hasn't had any luck. Part of me feels bad for the situation she's in, but I remind myself that it's entirely of her own making. Bianca and I remained estranged after everything that happened. She was furious that I wouldn't help STI financially and cut off all contact with me. Our parents tried to mediate at first but eventually gave up when it was clear neither of us was willing to budge on our stance. Now, here's where things get interesting. About a week ago, I got a call from my mother. She sounded stressed and said she had something important to tell me. Apparently, Bianca is now going through a very similar situation to what happened with me, and sad, according to my mother. Bianca had been having an affair with a coworker for the past year. She ended up getting pregnant, but tried to pass the baby off as her husband's. Her husband, Jack, recently found out about the affair and that the baby isn't his. He's devastated and wants a divorce. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me after everything Bianca said to me about stepping up and being a father. Regardless of biology, she's now in the exact same position Sadie was in. It's like karma came back around. My mother called because she wanted to warn me that Jack might reach out. She said that if he did, I should scold him and tell him to stay with Bianca for the sake of the baby. She thinks Jack should forgive Bianca and raise the child as his own, just like she thought I should have done with Sa's baby. I was shocked by my mother's request. It seemed incredibly deceiving to me. When I was going through my divorce, my family criticized me for not staying. Now they want me to tell Jack to do what I refused to do. It didn't sit right with me at all. Sure enough, Jack called me the next day. He was clearly distraught and said he didn't know who else to turn to. He explained the situation from his perspective. Bianca had been distant and secretive for months. He found suspicious text messages on her phone and confronted her. She eventually admitted to the affair and that the baby wasn't his. Jack said he felt betrayed and couldn't imagine staying in the marriage. He didn't think he could ever trust Bianca again after such a huge deception, but he was getting pressure from Bianca and both of their families to work things out for the baby's sake. Then Jack asked if I would be willing to testify on his behalf if the divorce went to court. He wanted me to share my experience and explain why I chose not to stay and raise his baby. He thought it might help the judge understand his perspective. I had a big decision to make. On one hand, my mother had explicitly asked me not to help Jack. Getting involved would likely damage my already strained relationship with my family even further, but on the other hand, I knew exactly what Jack was going through. I remembered how alone and judged I felt during my own divorce. In the end, I decided to help Jack. I agreed to testify if needed and offered to be a source of support as he went through the divorce process. I couldn't, in good conscience, tell him to stay in a marriage built on lies, knowing how painful that would be. I told Jack about my own experience, the betrayal, the pressure to stay, the difficult decision to leave. I explained how even though it was hard, I ultimately felt I made the right choice for myself. I didn't tell him what to do, but I wanted him to know he wasn't alone in feeling the way he did. As I expected, my family was furious when they found out I was helping Jack. Bianca called me in tears, saying I was ruining her life. My parents said I was being selfish and cruel. They accused me of only helping Jack out of spite and bitterness over my own divorce, but I stayed by my decision. I don't think anyone should be guilted into raising a child that isn't theirs, especially when the child is the product of their partner's affair. Jack deserves to make his own choice, just like I did, and he deserves support, not judgment, as he goes through this difficult time. It's been eye-opening to see how differently my family is reacting now that Bianca is the one who cheated when it was me going through the divorce. They thought I should just get over it and step up as a father. Now that it's their golden child in trouble, they're bending over backwards to defend her actions and preserve her marriage. I don't take any pleasure in Bianca's situation. Infidelity and divorce are painful for everyone involved, but I do hope this experience gives her some perspective on what I went through. Maybe she'll understand now why I made the choices I did. As for me, I'm going to continue to support Jack as he goes through this process. I know from experience how isolating divorce can be, especially when everyone is pressuring you to forgive and stay. If I can make things even a little bit easier for him, I want to do. But I don't regret my decision to help Jack, even though it's caused more family drama. I believe I'm doing the right thing by standing up for what I think is right, even when it's difficult. Hopefully in time, my family will understand my perspective, but even if they don't, I can sleep at night knowing I followed my conscience. So what do you think, Reddit? Am I for going against my family's wishes and helping Jack, or did I do the right thing by supporting someone going through a similar situation to what I experienced? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.